Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Friday Special and I'm Faisal Rahman from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about FATF, Financial Action Task Force. There was this very major decision which this organization was supposed to take was about keeping Pakistan in the grey list or putting Pakistan in the blacklist. And they asked Pakistan to sort of act upon certain measures so that terror financing and the other issue was about the money laundering. Should be curtailed, should be rather eliminated 100%. Though it's not an easy task, it's a huge challenge, because when we talk about certain allegations on Pakistan, that is a separate issue altogether. But transferring money, according to certain sources, around 17 billion, and some other sources said it was $13.5 billion were transferred through legal means in the last year, 16-17. And then you talk about illegal transactions through hawala or hundi. They are well over $10 billion for sure. But now, but you can't actually have an account of that. That's a very, very complicated issue. But at the same time, you talk about National Action Plan. It had a couple of points regarding the transfer of money to certain madrasas, the source of income, how they spend, what sort of curriculum they'll be teaching, and so on and so forth. But the government couldn't do much on that also, though people say that it was more of a political decision. So that was, since it wasn't popular, so it wasn't taken. Now the interim government is in place. Pakistan, luckily, has been able to get we got actually deferred, let's put it this way. And now we need to take those measures in account, and we have to do it. And there was this very interesting statement, none other than from Nikki Haley. She's rather visiting India these days, and she said that we'll have exerted more pressure. So this was the word actually, more pressure on Pakistan to do all what we have asked for. So now what do we need to do? How do we need to do? The interesting part is that 20 points of NAP, National Action Plan, and the 26 points regarding the FATF, the proposal which we gave to the community, they are pretty much in alignment. Now let's see how to move forward, what sort of areas to sort of rather take care of at the earlier stage, and then what needs to be done in the sort of medium range goal management, and then obviously we talk about the long range. But let's see how it proceeds. To talk about this, we have with us in our studio, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us on my right is Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Sahab. Sir, thank you very much for taking out your time. We have with us Brigadier Retired Tipu Sultan Sahab. Again, he's no introduction as a senior defense analyst. Sir, thank you very much. And a very known writer and a very good area specialist, especially when we talk about Pakistan and Afghanistan and terror, our very dear friend Qamar Cheema Sahab. Thank you very much, sir. Now, Naqvi Sahab, first of all, sir, FATF, I mean, I'll just give you an example. Maybe 14, 15 days ago, I happened to interview the current Foreign Minister, Abdullah Hassan Harun. And I asked him this question about FATF, that, you know, people are not that worried maybe, and they're not bothered what exactly is going to happen. But he said, that, God forbid, if we are put into that particular list, that means that there'll be a lot of problems on the financial front, because Pakistan is facing a lot of problems as far as economy is concerned. And secondly, at the same time, having said that, he also mentioned that the other important factor is about the sort of loans which you need to take, and there'll be a lot of problems, because obviously when we talk about IMF, World Bank, or for that matter, Asian Development Bank, obviously they also have borrowed money from certain countries, so there's a lot of influence of those countries. In this particular case, it was Germany, UK, France, and USA. On the behest of the Indians, that is a separate chapter altogether, but that's how they proceeded. Yeah. So do you think coming out of that challenge for the time being, or getting that time period, obtaining a certain margin, is actually a diplomatic success for Pakistan, sir, or a political success?
Yes. You see, the action plan that we have presented to the FATF, to the ICRG of the FATF, which is the international group which monitors the financial action task force activities. The action plan, consisting of 26 points, which you mentioned, is to the satisfaction of the body that is monitoring this whole issue. So to that extent, it's a diplomatic success because our delegation, a 10-member delegation, led by the interim
And
finance
obviously,
minister.
the ambassadors and the staff must have been very active there as well.
Yes.
In those
And
countries,
this
correct.
delegation has gone with all the senior finance ministry officials, and they are in Paris, where the meeting is taking place. The last day of the meeting is today. It started on the 24th of June, and it lasted till the 29th. So that is, I think, a positive development, that we have been put on the grey list, but this was decided in February, so we had to be put on the grey list. However, the negative is that we could even have gotten off the list.
But sir, at the same
We
time,
could
their
have been
concern is that
taken
we
off.
haven't done enough.
Exactly.
Even in
That is
during
what
the
I'm
last
saying.
5 months or so.
That is what I'm saying. We would have been taken off the grey list if we had done enough, which you are saying.
But sir, looking at the last 5 months, the government was in a total political turmoil, I would say.
Yes.
It was all about Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and why he was ousted, and then the pre-election campaign and all.
And then the interim
And this particular issue was neglected, and later on, Khwaja Asif Saab, who was finally made the foreign minister, was also sent home because of certain 62, 63 or whatever the case was. So,
yes, but we, you know, as they say in English, we have hit ourselves on our own foot. I mean, what have we done? When that last meeting was taking place, Khwaja Asif made a tweet that we are off the list and all that, and that was the cause for calling a second meeting, which was called by the United States, to discuss this matter, and in that it was decided that Pakistan will be put on the grey list if it doesn't do enough in the next 5 months, which they find we haven't done. So we could have been taken off the grey list if we had taken action, and if Khwaja Asif had not made that tweet, because that was very detrimental. So we have hit ourselves on the foot, on our own foot.
these ministers normally, whoever is holding whatever portfolio, do they consult with, for example, the foreign minister? Do you think he is supposed to consult with the secretaries and the senior officials before tweeting or giving a statement for that matter?
He is supposed to.
He's supposed
The
to.
problem is we have all the right rules and requirements under the rules of business of the government. But though they are supposed to, they don't. I mean, I think Khwaja Asif made that tweet entirely on his own. So they disregard the laid down procedure, the SOP, and that is another reason why we get into trouble. Now, we have been given 15 months to complete the picture. We have been given 15 months to put into place all the actions that are required under the 26 points action plan. And there we have to be, broadly speaking, we should put our laws in accordance with the UN resolutions 1267 and 1373. And secondly, we have to ensure coordination between this federal government and the provincial governments in taking action in regard to those points, which is to stop monitoring, the movement of funds for terror financing. And this is...
But how would a check on that? Because, you know, money will be transferred no matter what. The point is that how to put a check. Now, obviously, when...
They have done enough. What they needed to do, they already have done. They have fined the banks, I think, $1.2 billion so far for allowing financing that is not authorized.
So one of your bank, Habib Bank, was fined heavily and was shut down, the only bank maybe. And at the same time, when we talk about Hundi or Hawala, now the real challenge would be, Brigadier Saab, obviously you're talking about $1 billion, and I'm sure it is into multi-billions. The government passed a scheme, immensity scheme, if you remember. In that particular scheme, even if you want to bring back, let's say, $1 billion, you just have to pay 2%, and your money, whatever source you have, you don't even have to disclose that. That is going to be converted into white money. So, you know, that is, to me, it seems like an absolute clash. And obviously, when you say that which organizations support which organizations, and are there any individuals? I mean, it is so complicated. Do you think we have the capacity, we have the, obviously the will is there, but do we have the capacity to sort of look into those affairs?
Well, we certainly do have the capacity to do that, but I think the will and the maintenance of aim towards having a clean sort of an arrangement here domestically to satisfy the international community has been missing. I think if you really go back about 4 or 5 years.
See, your case about water issues, your case about dams of India, your case about even Kashmir, I mean, everything seems to be pending or either favoring the other parties.
There is one thing glaringly missing in all the issues that you've talked about.
Are we not doing enough homework? Or
the government of Pakistan and the institutions that be seems to miss the detail and the responsibilities they have on various subjects. I will tell you, Faisal, that what had happened was when we evolved the action plan, etc., we realized that there is a nexus between the money laundering, the white collar crime, gun runners, and those people who get the money for terrorism here in Pakistan. So I think the right quarters had realized that the money that changes hands in Pakistan has got a lot to do with the stability or instability of the country. Having realized that, we did not do anything, and lo and behold came the FATF, and then we were in a quagmire. Coupled with that, what has happened is that the international agenda and the flow of events is not in favor of Pakistan. There are certain forces who want us to behave in a certain manner because regionally they want some other policy going against what Pakistan wants. So if the Indians want us to be involved in certain things, they have got reasonable influence internationally. And then we have also behaved.
Not reasonable, sir. They have got plenty of influence. I mean, for example, this statement came right after this particular decision, Ambassador Saab and Cheema Saab, and she was on a pleasure trip basically. She went to because she basically she is sick, right?
Yeah.
And then she had to go to certain gurdwaras, and she also visited a mosque though. But what I'm saying is that she is not on an official tour. But she went there as a governor of Carolina way back in 2014, I guess. This is her second visit. But the influence of India is that she had to give a statement against Pakistan sitting in India.
So what I wanted to indicate,
and she is an absolute hawk.
Over here is that absolutely, there's no doubt that the Indians do have considerable influence. But look at the money that the Saudis have spent in Pakistan to raise certain madrasas and certain school of thoughts, and look at the Iranians who spent the money over here. I think what the government of Pakistan lacked is totally is that in the National Action Plan they had to see the running of madrasas. On one hand, the KP government gives 30 crore rupees to a madrasa and then not know what is happening to that.
You can't audit that money.
That's the term. There are a lot of eyebrows raised.
That's the condition they've put actually.
I think it is, in all fairness, the government of Pakistan has been busy pursuing certain other domestic problems or policies rather than having to look at the international wars that Pakistan has. And that is where we lag behind, that is where we missed the time, that is where we missed the bus, as the ambassador indicated, that had we taken certain steps, in the international community and in law, the ambassador will tell us properly that it works on certain principles and certain information. Yes, they have the prejudice, yes, they have their own agenda, but when you present the things to them in a concrete fashion, everybody is listening over there, and if you convince them, they cannot take a decision against you. Although
it's how you plead your case.
So if you have the material, and if you can convince them, you will always carry the day. Instead of your.
But basically, what we've done, we've bought time. Now let me move on, sir. If I may ask this question to you, sir. First of all, I will definitely like you to comment further. But the storm is still there. It's not over.
Well, sir, I think, first of all, what I have understood over this FATF thing is, I think the international community, first, this is politically motivated. One thing we were
Definitely it is.
we were from 2012 to 2015 in the grey list, and then we were removed in 2015. Now again we have been put in this grey list. Now the point is that first, this is politically motivated. Along with that, there are certain vulnerabilities. There are certain areas where we lack completely, and I think we just perhaps we don't have a political will to resolve that. For example, the point 6 in the National Action Plan talks about choking terror financing. The question is, this particular FATF is coming because the Americans understand that we are not doing enough in Afghanistan, so let's pressurize Pakistan, this intergovernmental organization. One second, the Indian pressure comes in with and the American pressure also believes that since Jamaat-ul-Dawa has not been completely banned, they are being allowed to work. And for that, whenever there comes a pressure, the federal government write letters to the provincial governments, do tell us what is the infrastructure of that. And you know, the last time this FATF meeting was going on, there were certain raids in Rawalpindi and other parts of the Punjab to just give a message to the FATF, look, we are doing work. And you know, I can tell you certain stories which you will be shocked to know. That
And I tell you, sir, at that time, the government of Sindh did something. Rest, when you talk about KP, very little in Balochistan, but the largest province is Punjab, and nothing was done here, basically, sir.
you know, the Pakistan's federal interior ministry wrote a letter to the entire 4 provinces to tell us the details of Jamaat-ul-Dawa. And I will not name, but one of the provinces wrote a letter to the federal government, we don't have any infrastructure in our province. That was completely, you know, in the previous government. You know, we don't have completely the political will to dismantle this network.
That's what I'm saying. It's not
And
a popular
that is
decision.
where nobody
It
is
will
talking
never
on
be
that.
But Cheema Saab, now if you've been given a certain time, that means either we're talking about, obviously the interim government pleaded this case, right? Because I think the honorable lady, she's brilliant. I mean, she's been at certain posts and she exactly knows the dynamics, the importance. She's also served as the Governor State Bank. And I'm sure whatever that is one of the reasons I think we have got enough time now. I think 15 months, if we do, we can. But again, whosoever comes into power, sir, there's certain pockets in South Punjab, there's certain areas in the rest of the provinces also, and certain issues are very sensitive to even look in. You know, obviously we have witnessed that in the past, especially related to religious affairs. Do you think that is going to be the real challenge for the next government? And other political parties would sort of, you know, capitalize on that, because that's what we have seen earlier as well.
Faisal sir, what I believe how things could be resolved is that we have to strengthen our financial regime. There is no other way. Till that time, we do not strengthen our financial regime, strengthen your financial regime, and then ask everyone just to go by the book. That should be for everyone. You know, with this small misunderstanding, with this small activity, with this small misunderstanding, we can go somewhere in a very difficult path. And perhaps we don't understand that things are getting tough with Pakistan. So I think first we have, for example, there is a financial action task force, task unit in State Bank of Pakistan. That is to work with the FIA's financial terror financing. They have to work with that. Now, the problem is the FIA does not have the to monitor terror financing. They do not have institutions
it's a
in
new
the provincial
phenomenon.
level.
It was there, but now it's pretty, you know, it's not, we're not living in 1960s. Things are very different. I mean, these terrorists are no more the ones without brains. I mean, they are brilliant people because they have brains and they're thinking a step ahead.
Yeah.
That's why you're in trouble. That's the reason. Need to have, you know, for example, I'll just give you an example. When this particular, the Lahore Jamia, right, one of the Mufti Naeem Sahab I'm talking about, 2 police constables visited him regarding, you know, just for an SOP that yes, we have covered this mosque, put a tick. And he said that how would such people who have no clue about any financing, about computers, about, you know, all the technical expertise, I mean, if they are missing, they can't even talk. You understand? Do you think those people will sort these issues out?
This is what I am saying. We need to
You
have
need
this.
experts. You need technical people. You need your informers inside these money changers and all. That's how you put a check.
So
Because I'll tell you, you know the reason why? Because all these money changers, these are all businessmen, this is the community which is the target market of PMLN. They would never go after them. And then you talk about the madrasas and whatever is happening in the southern Punjab. Again, that is where they have a lot of influence, I would say.
I have met certain people who have given charities to the jihadi organization, and that is where things get
Sir, I've
disturbed.
seen those boxes in
And
small shops
they are
and elsewhere,
banned.
even in the now they were there, even in the mosque that
Yeah.
put chanda or whatever.
And as far as
during-
National Action
they
Plan,
used to
those
collect it during
boxes
the
are
fight of
banned.
press.
You cannot put those boxes in the shops and everywhere.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, even in Islamabad and everywhere, you will find that. So the point is that things are at place. If wherever there are institutional legal measures have been taken, there is no will, or they are
Because,
not
sir,
working.
what I fear is, Cheema Sahab, that if you'll corner the cat to that extent on set of pace, I mean, because they're not used to. So the blowback or the fallout factor.
The mechanism of the state is that you have a Islamic Nazariyati Council, for example. When you talk of controlling the religion has been left to be interpreted.
Sir, they make policies which suit them. Maulana Sharani Sahab, for
Maulana
example,
Sharani says that
you give a bill to him regarding the protection of women. I mean, the moment the word women comes, I mean, he'll just put it aside.
So
That's
what
the problem. So what are we talking about here,
So
sir?
I think taking a cue
You think
from
only
what-
Maulvis
you-
need to take charge and they
Absolutely.
become the custodians of everything, sir?
Absolutely.
This is
I'm
not their fault.
coming
This
to
is our
that,
fault because we have let them do that.
You see, Islamic Nazariyati Council is not properly constituted to have a look at what is happening to Pakistan regarding religion. If the religion is left to be interpreted by all people who do not have the sufficient knowledge about it, then you will have a problem. And then in an Islamic state, you cannot leave the things in lurch and limbo to be handled by the private people who think about the religion in a certain way. The government has a responsibility to steer and to direct and to envision the religion according to its true self, and then according to the environments that the state has to operate in. When you talk of the international community, yes, they have an agenda against us. There is no doubt about that. And you cannot stop any political force or any country or any powerful nation to have its own policy. The point is that you have to counter it with your own strength and be cognizant of your weaknesses also. So the weakness over here is that since the inception of Pakistan, the religion has been increasingly exploited. And
Not
it
only
has been-
exploited, sir, there is one reality, Brigadier Sir. There is one reality. You know the real problem, I think, with Pakistanis, most Pakistanis, including myself and everybody, I think it is in the society, is that, in management, I'll just give you the basic example. In management, they say if you know your problem, if you exactly know your problem, half your problem is solved.
Is over.
The problem is that in Pakistan, when we look at, okay, let's do the dissection of Pakistan, what are the issues, major challenges? For example, water has become a serious issue, but they were never thinking about it for the last maybe 30, 40 years or so. Now, once there is going to be no water to take shower, no water to clean your car or your house or to use for other purposes, forget about the drinking water, what will happen? So the point is that we are not committed. Honestly speaking, I mean, at the same time, when you see that, for example, in Pakistan, we all know what the problem is, but since our eyes are closed, and we have let that monster become so huge that it's beyond our control now. This is a reality, sir.
Yeah.
Now the point is we need to put a check somewhere. You can't let that monster eat you one day.
Yeah,
think-
Faisal, one point that
You have to start
that
at
has to be highlighted is that much of it is also political, and
Most of us,
they,
Mr. Saab,
you know what they are actually after, and I'll tell you. Let's get down to the crux. They are after Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar.
two guys.
And these two guys, because the Indians have prompted
Sir, they have
them.
taken the name
The
also.
Indians have prompted them to do it. Now, what we are doing is that we are not obliging them in that way. We can't. But we are taking these actions and drawing up a plan and doing these things. Now, I don't think they expect us to completely stamp out terror financing. Terror financing, as you said, is very complicated and cannot be stamped out. But they want us to take action which is aimed at reducing it to the extent possible.
Practical measures.
Practical measures.
Yes.
And there, we have to play our cards well. Now, what we have done yesterday is, I am afraid, very, very damaging for this. The release of the release of funds for Ludhianvi and the ASWJ, which was ordered by the Punjab Home Department day before yesterday, right at the time when this meeting was considering this whole issue, is, I think, most ill-advised. And I don't know, Foreign Office must have weighed in on this, but nothing has happened and they have taken the action. This is what damages you. This is the kind of thing that
Obviously,
damages.
that becomes the leading story.
Yeah.
They won't talk about the efforts you have genuinely made to control something.
Yeah.
They'll talk about that one point that becomes the lead story, and then that is the issue. That is the
That,
topic of
that
discussion.
ruins your case.
Absolutely, sir.
Just because you have done this. So, I mean, even if we were going to let him come to the elections, which is the objective, that they must also be allowed to
And they'll be showing their
participate.
strength this time in the election, sir.
Yeah. So,
And they have a lot of presence?
even if that was the object, it should have been done maybe a week later or something. I mean, let the FATF meeting be over. But no, we had to do it
Basically,
right.
sir, there are three organizations: Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jamaat-ul-Dawa, and FIF. Right?
Yeah.
Now, looking at, let's suppose, if we have to put a check, what is the best way to go forward? Because, for example, if there's a way to house arrest them, but since there's nothing against them, so why should we do that? We can't do that. But let's suppose if they exist, because Nikki Haley's statement that we have spoken to them very firmly. I mean, she was more in a threatening mood, sir, rather than she doesn't have diplomatic tone. She practically, you know, you've seen her, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now, so that means obviously she knows what she's talking about.
I think the core issue is whether or not the state has chosen to behave in a certain manner. When you look at the behavior of, for example, Iran or Korea,
The point is that we are not talking about progress of Iran or other, for example, Korea. They're in the blacklist, right? But what I'm saying is that that's a different concern. Pakistan is an atomic power. Pakistan has one of the largest armies. It's a responsible state. Unfortunately, right now we are in a state of war, this fifth generation warfare, whatever you may call it. But a lot more is expected from Pakistan also. So I think, I think our legislators, the problem is our legislators, they do not think about the real issues. I mean, non-productive issues have become the issues.
Exactly. What I was trying to indicate to you is that the national policy is chosen by a state according to whatever its political thought and whatever it is mechanism to run the state is. I think Pakistan has been neither there nor here. It has adopted a policy which is really confusing the international community. True that Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jamaat-ul-Dawa and all these three organizations are not terrorist organizations from that sense, and the Indians want to eliminate that because of the Kashmir issue, and they want to malign Pakistan internationally on certain issues. And they made it a point for their own strategic and reasons. But I think Pakistan has fallen short of an iron grip and a firm policy domestically regarding what aspects damage Pakistan at the international forum. And we have said that time and again, because our priority is that we have not gotten out of our own political ambitions and individual, it's a question of saving individuals politically. And it is not a question of, steering a political policy which is there for Pakistan, having a cohesive sort of an atmosphere and joining up institutions at certain points to generate a national policy. And the Indians have said time and again that they are confused whether they should talk to the army chief or they should talk to some sort of a politician, and they keep on saying that it has implications, because we had dawn leaks, we had certain problems at home which generated wrong signals, and over here national action plan has been devised, we have not acted on it, we have left the religion to be interpreted by the people, we have not controlled their finances, and despite all that, the Indians are injecting $800 million to fund terrorism in Pakistan.
So exactly, then we shouldn't cry. So now, one point, Cheema, obviously there was a school of thought in 70s and 80s, and a lot of people had a very firm belief in that, that you know, this is how it should be. For example, General Brig, that school of thought of strategic depth. Now the depth has become a problem for you. And then you talk about, you know, taking Kashmir through force. This has been the agenda, right? I mean, and then obviously there are so many ways to look after such affairs, you know. What I'm saying is that this is 2018, sir. The dynamics of the world, they have changed. The real issues are there, obviously, they're existing, but this terror sort of, this word terrorism, terror, it has taken a very new dimension. And now that is the first and the foremost important thing for any country. The moment, I mean, no matter how good you are, the moment this word comes and it is attached or associated with you that Pakistan has been put in the grey list of FATF because they haven't done enough. This becomes the headline. Perception is totally changed about, forget about how to, you know, go up and see the base camp of K2 or go to Naran or elsewhere. You understand? First thing, terror, T for terror. In army and ISSB, you know, they show you different pictures. That's how they pick this up. And the moment you see, you know, either you are supposed to, you see a flower and you say it's red or it's flower or fragments or something. That's how they, you know, what I'm saying is over here, it's exactly the same. The damage is huge.
Faisal Sahab, last 16, 70 years we have been in this war and now things have been fine, alhamdulillah.
And we are still in the pursuit of that old school of thought, sir.
The problems are lies. We have given the largest sacrifices in every way, and nobody understands our story. Even still, we are being asked to do more. The question is that, frankly speaking, as a true Pakistani, what I believe is that there is nobody, even there is no debate in
Pakistan. So you need to do something. Maybe you need to do it in a much wiser way.
Sir, there is no debate even in Pakistan.
Though I
Nobody
know
even
it's just
is
like banging your head with
talking
an iron wall,
that
but
how the world is looking at us. Nobody is even talking on this. The political elite that is more of the time engaged with
that
fighting
means
their
they
own.
played the cards wisely, na? You haven't.
Yes.
Let's accept it then, sir.
Yes. So the political elite is all silent. They never know that what are the international implications. They all what they like to do is that they have to come in Islamabad in the parliament, but they never understand what are the implications, how we have to look at this global order, the regional order, how things are turning against us. I think this is where there needs to be some sort of a national debate on that. At least we need to be very serious on this. You know, we talk to the people. India is disturbing us. Afghanistan is disturbing us. Things are, America is not happy with us. You know, what the international community, what do they talk? You know, where there is a project Pakistan. What you have a vision for the world? What is your regional vision? What is your vision for Pakistan? And there is no vision, frankly speaking. We are in this country, we are on our own. We are fighting with all the elements on our own. We know that if we have to survive, we have to be strong. We understand there is no state, the state will not come to rescue us. But even then, I think all what we need to do is that, yesterday we were talking, you know, you were talking with Nikki Haley. I was on India Today yesterday. They were asking me a question. Look, Nikki Haley is saying this. Look, this surgical strike.
They'll do that.
They
They'll capitalize on that
deliberately, Faisal Saab, they deliberately released choreographed video, 3D video. And why they released, what was the timing? The moment Nikki Haley landed, they released a video. Look, this is the surgical strike from India to Pakistan. And they wanted to give a message, one thing. They wanted
when
Nikki
she'll
Haley
get
to
up
be
in the
tough.
morning to have a cup of coffee and she'll be having 5 newspapers, that is going to be the headline.
Yes.
See, that's
That is
how
where
smartly they do it. That's what my point is, sir.
I mentioned it. That
And
is
over
how we are
here, I
playing.
mean,
And
they're
then,
talking about shutting down the only English channel.
And
Do
then-
you understand? This is the difference of the vision.
and that is where they're playing with us. That
It's
is
funny,
how they're
I
playing
swear.
with us. One video, yesterday they did it. A day before yesterday they did it. Yesterday, the entire Indian channels were showing because she was there in India.
So
Then
that's how media works.
they gave a hawkish statement on Pakistan. And in
A
return,
good combo, icing on the cake.
You know, that is how they were playing. And then they dispelled the impression of the UN Human Rights Commission's report. Look, it is not it's not about human rights crisis. It is about this LOC thing. Look how the Pakistani, they are engaging us and we have to respond to Pakistan. So they forgot everything.
Media
they
is,
engaged everyone.
people say that it's the intelligence agency which is your first line of defense. I do not agree. You know why, sir? That is an old school of thought. It's the media,
True.
which creates the perceptions. If you've seen that movie, Wag the Dog, Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro, what is it about? An old shoe is better than new one, how they run that campaign and all. And eventually, you know what happens. That's how delicate media campaigns are. That's how effective they can be.
Yeah.
So I think this is where we have to build this narrative. We have the institutions, we have the people, we have wonderful people at home. All what we need to is that we need to turn this tide and we need to
The
convince
point
the
is,
world.
Cheema Sahab, we are not sitting in the parliament, we are not legislators to talk about it. Have you ever heard any educated parliamentarian talking about certain issues, which are the real issues? What
That
we
is
is
really
going to be
We
the
Educated
real
are
issues?
in the minority. The
Educated-
educated parliamentarians are in very few, and most of them don't attend these sessions. They have no commitment. The guys who attend these sessions are ignorant mostly. Now, I am a Pakistani citizen, I have a right to say that. They are ignorant and they are unaware of the world, and they are driving Pakistan into backwardness and nothing else.
They've
And
already
you know,
done that,
above
sir.
all, I would like to comment on what Ambassador Saab is mentioning. They have to request to the party whip, sir, can we talk? And the party whip understands the IQ level of that particular person, and then he asks, you have to talk or you don't have to talk. So majority of the
See,
parliamentarians
these young
even don't talk.
parliamentarians, and I swear, I'm saying that on record now, that these young parliamentarians who are very dynamic, very brilliant, they've been educated abroad. I mean, they have a vision, I would say.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to talk.
That's
Yeah.
why
You know,
I'm
because
talking.
even the parliament has been hijacked by certain
They're
people
vulnerable.
who are more influential in their own parties, and you will see only those faces making a comment, having a press conference of
I have
something.
one more point,
It's a
Faisal.
political dictatorship.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I
sir,
want
absolutely.
to make one more point. We should be very clear, and I have said this many times, that no individual, no movement, no tanzeem or tahreek is more important than the national interest of Pakistan.
Absolutely, sir. That comes first.
And what we do is to pander to these individuals and groups.
But sir, we always say that what we have given to Pakistan and what Pakistan is a country. It's run by people. People are supposed to have certain institutions. They should be strengthened, so systems are taken care of. Like the ambulance service, the health service, the education. You start off from PIA to your steel mills to what. Sir, we are such a corrupt nation, to be very honest. We should
have
admit who we are.
destroyed the
You know, when we say we are resilient, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice other than to be resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, if the load shedding was for 6 hours, went up to 10, fine, sir, no problem. You know,
That's
people
what-
have been surviving.
That's what.
But the point is that we do not have water, sir. So you can live without electricity, you can live without gas or anything, you can live under the blacklist also, nobody's going to come and squeeze your neck. But the point is that real issues should be taken very seriously. I think that is the total time which I had, sir. Anyway, Cheema Sahab, thank you very much. Because it was a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Thank
And that's all we have for this Friday. I'll see you again on Monday. Till then, you take good care. Have a great weekend. Khuda Hafiz from our side. Bye-bye.